How are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? We've got a Bulls game later tonight against the Cavs, hoping we can see them snapping that current losing streak. Alex Caruso is likely going to be back in the lineup at the time of this recording anyway. He's listed as probable, so maybe by the time you're watching this, it has already been updated and that he will be in the lineup. Unfortunately, though, Zach LaVine, Javonte Green, and Lonzo Ball all are going to be out for this game, but we're not going to think about that right now because it's Wednesday, and you guys know every Wednesday I run a series between your Bulls Would You Rather scenarios and your Bulls Hot Takes, and this week we're featuring your Bulls Would You Rather. So if you're new to the channel, feel free to leave your Hot Takes or your Would You Rathers in the comments below or in the Discord, which you should absolutely join, by the way. The link to the Discord can be found in the description. But with that being said, let's get into your hot takes. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Our first Would You Rather comes to us from Sai. Would you rather have Daniel Gafford or Derrick Jones Jr. and Troy Brown Jr.? Man, this is a tough one for me because you guys know how much I love Gafford and how high on him I was when he was with the Bulls. But you're talking about choosing him alone versus two players, one of which I think is a very valuable player for the Bulls, and Derrick Jones Jr. That being said, though, because the Bulls could really use someone like Gafford in the paint with some rim protection and catching lobs from Lonzo and Lavine would be super nice. So I know most people are going to say that I'm crazy for this, but I would rather have Daniel Gafford in this instance. I'm still a little jaded on that trade, but AK made up for it, of course, with all the other moves that were made in the offseason. Next, we've got Big Goo Wop 2324. Would you rather have NBA turn off the salary cap or take off the trade window so teams can trade even in the postseason in case of injury? This is interesting. I've never really thought about taking away the whole trade deadline window. Obviously, there are pros and cons of having a salary cap, and I've thought about that a lot in the past, but I think the pros outweigh the cons because if you remove the salary cap, the big market teams who have all the money are just going to dominate the league with their ability to offer the biggest stars, the biggest contracts, and the small market teams would never be able to compete. On top of that, I almost kind of like the strategy side of balancing the salary cap and figuring out who can maximize your roster with the available salary cap space that you have. It adds another business element to the game rather than just figure out who you like and pay them the most money you can afford. So in this instance, I would take getting rid of the trade window because, to be honest, I actually kind of like the concept of being able to make a trade at any point in the season because you're right, things happen after the deadline to where you could still make adjustments to a roster, especially if you're looking to contend for a title and an unexpected injury happens. So yes, I would rather take away the trade window. Next, we've got the Benny. Would you rather Ayo or Franz Wagner? I mean, as much as I have been impressed with Franz Wagner, and low-key, you kind of have some regrets knowing that this was the Bulls' lottery pick in the Vucevic trade, but like, would Wagner be playing as well as he is if he was on a top team in the league? I'm not sure he would, whereas Ayo has shown out incredibly well playing on one of the best teams in the NBA. He earned his spot on a talented roster and has been handling himself incredibly well. Not only that, but I see more potential coming from Ayo over Wagner in the long term. And of course, I'm a bit biased because I was on the Bulls and I'm always going to take a Chicago kid who plays for my team and has been a standout among the rookie class, especially for being drafted in the second round. Next, we've got, I believe it's Yorgan Helen. If you could redraft the 2018 draft, would you rather take Sexton or SGA over Wendell? SGA, no question, it's not even close. I love Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's game. I think he's future big-time star in this league based on what we have seen thus far. And I'm also not a fan of Sexton's game. I mean, he's a good player, and I probably would have preferred him over Wendell Carter Jr. But no, SGA, hands down, I would take in a heartbeat in a redraft. That draft is kind of depressing for Bulls fans because the Bulls tanked to try and get a top pick for a chance at Luka Doncic, and of course, it didn't happen, but man, what could have been if the Bulls had been able to draft Doncic that year. Next, we've got Finn Nicholson. Would you rather the current Chicago Bulls win a championship this year and be a one and done, or have deep playoff runs consistently for the next 5 years? And I asked you as a follow-up question in the comments that is a deep playoff run in this scenario would mean not winning a championship, and you said yes. I mean, I always am going to take a championship over just being a team that makes a deep playoff run year after year. But at the same time, is it a one and done and they just go back to being trash for an extensive period of time? Because I also like seeing my team be competitive year in and year out. That's what makes the NBA exciting to me, is when my team is in the thick of it and not just a bottom feeder year after year. But either way, in this scenario, I think I would rather see the Bulls win a championship this year, because that is, of course, the ultimate goal of every NBA team. And it's just been a long time since we've been able to see the Bulls win a championship. I was a kid back in the last time that they actually won it. Next, we've got JPTV. Would you rather have Myles Turner or Jerami Grant? It's interesting. I left a poll question the other day on who you guys would rather have on the Bulls roster between Christian Wood and Jerami Grant. And the majority of you wanted to see Grant on the Bulls, with 3.6 thousand votes and 58% of it being for Grant. I personally would prefer Wood over Jerami Grant for reasons I've explained previously, because he had size, rebounding, and defense more so than Jerami Grant can, although Grant is a much better scorer overall. But in this instance, I mean, Myles Turner is a center. He can play power forward, but what the Bulls really need is a power forward, which is what Grant could provide. But at the same time, man, the Bulls could sure use Myles Turner's rim protection with his elite shot blocking. This is a tough one, though. I lean more towards Jerami Grant, but also recognize the value Turner could bring if he was able to play the 4 spot as well. Next, we've got Joseph Walker. Would you rather have D Rose or Russell Westbrook on the Bulls right now? My choice is D Rose. And yes, my choice is also absolutely Derrick Rose. Not because Rose is necessarily better than Westbrook, although even that's debatable at this point, but more so because Westbrook would destroy the chemistry on this team with his ego and selfish style of play. Westbrook has also just been straight awful for the Lakers this season, with how much he turns the ball over, how inefficient he's been with his shot and his overall shot selection, not to mention the fact that his contract is atrocious compared to that of Derrick Rose. So yes, I would much prefer Rose, although to be honest, neither of them would really fit this roster all that well, given how crowded we are in the backcourt currently. Next, we've got Evidently Easy. Would you rather have prime Kevin Garnett or prime Kevin Durant on the current Bulls roster? Yeah, that's a pretty easy one for me. I'm taking Kevin Durant all day, every day. KG was a great player, an all-time great, don't get me wrong, but Durant is arguably a top 15 player of all time, if not top 10. And if you add KD's elite scoring to what we already have in Lavine and DeRozan, forget about it, it's done. You're talking about a multiple championship winning team for the Bulls. Next, we've got LXKSCF41. Would you rather have Garrett Temple on this Bulls roster or Matt Thomas? I have to say, I would rather have Garrett Temple. Granted, I haven't really been following how Temple has been doing so far this season at all, because he's on the Pelicans, and who follows the Pelicans? But with the way he showed up last year and being such a high IQ player, a vocal leader on the court, and the fact that he was a solid defender over someone like Matt Thomas, who has been okay in moments for some shooting, but can't play a lick of defense, yeah, in this instance, I would take Garrett Temple. Next, we've got TJ Views. Nice video, Bull Central. Appreciate it, sir. Here's a would you rather scenario. Would you personally want to be the head coach for the Chicago Bulls or be the executive for the Chicago Bulls? This is a good one. For me personally, I would rather be the executive, not because it's more prestigious or anything like that. I just really like and find the business side of basketball incredibly fascinating and would much prefer to work on that level than to be a coach. Don't get me wrong, being a coach of the Bulls would be incredible, but I think overall I would enjoy working as an executive for the team that much more, to be handling all the inner workings of the organization. For the record though, I would be terrible at either of those jobs. I actually would love to hear what you guys would prefer though to be in this scenario, to be the coach of the team or work as an executive. Let me know on that one in the comments. But I'll end it there for this week though, guys. Don't forget the Bulls will be playing the Cavs later this evening. I will have a live game chat for that as always, both on the channel as well as on the Discord. Also, feel free to leave your Bulls hot takes in the comments for next video. Until then, guys, as always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.